Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey is always top shelf. Whether you got your start as a Dynasty veteran, a Millbury survivor, or you were born into the Church of Trotz, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, here are your eclectic hosts, Sean Cuthbert and Christian Arnold.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night, or Hockey Day, I should say, in New York. Welcome to the program, everybody. It is Saturday, April 16th, 2022, coming at you live from the Blue Line Deli and Bagels in Huntington, Long Island. Welcome to the program, everybody. Thank you so much for getting up early with us. Tune in to twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. We have an all-star cast hanging out with us today. Mr. Michael Carver from ILC Podcast hanging out with us. Butch Goring will be joining us a little later in the show here live at Blue Line, and also Andrew Gross from Newsday calling in later. So all-star cast, big show coming up. Obviously a little somber here in Islander country as we learned of the passing of the Islander legend Mike Bossy. Will be talking about that and all the latest in Islander country. Welcome to the program, Christian, Miguel. How you guys doing?
I'm good. It's nice to see Michael here.
Yeah, well, guest appearance.
Hey, boys.
What's going on, bud?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Beautiful morning out here on Long Island. A little early start for you guys here on a Saturday.
Yeah, a little different for us. Not a lot of sleep, got to be honest, but we're going to power through this.
We never get that anyway. So that's
No.
okay.
No.
I just took a good shot at Christian. He was dozing off right before the show.
Saw that. Well done. Well done. So once again, everybody, welcome to the program. I want to remind you all that we are happy to be presented by R.J. Daniels American Bar and Grill, located at 279A Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center. It's the best place to catch the Isles when you can't be at the game. Head on down for great food and drink specials, plenty of HD TVs, and in-game sound. Also happy to be sponsored by Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located here at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. Their brand new location at 217 Carlton Avenue in East Islip. And, of course, UBS Arena at Belmont. They're an official partner of the New York Islanders. Check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com for all their great offerings. Also happy to be sponsored by Tide Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services for businesses across the country. If you're tired of dealing with long hold times and the impersonal service of companies like Spectrum, Optimum, and Verizon, give Tide Technology a call at 516-856-7800. for 3 free months of service. And, of course, happy to be sponsored by Oyster Bay Brewing Company, creator of the Barn Rocker Session Ale. Available at 12 locations at the Islanders' brand new home in UBS Arena, and even more distributors across the country from coast to coast. You can visit the tap room at 36 Audrey Avenue in Oyster Bay 7 days a week to sample all their fantastic beverages. And, of course, those of you tuning in live on Twitch, get your questions in for Questions Brewing, brought to you by Oyster Bay Brewing Company. So, gents, as I said at the top here, obviously a sad time in Islander country as we learned about the passing of Mike Bossy at the age of 65 yesterday. Very unfortunate news, so we got to start there. Let's just talk about the loss of an Islander legend and Hall of Famer.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate circumstances that we start this Saturday show, and Mike Bossy obviously meant so much to this organization, to the fan base that watched him, when he was out there for the Islanders, helping them win 4 straight Stanley Cups. And obviously, the last couple weeks, things have not been great. Obviously, I think it was a week or two ago, there was some erroneous reporting about Mike Bossy originally, about possibly him passing away or whatever his particular state was at that point. And it's, kind of a very unfortunate end for Mike Bossy. Obviously, like I said, he means so much to the organization. He means so much to the team. And for a guy that basically was around the Islanders for as long as he played for the Islanders, it felt like he was around them more in the last 2-3 decades as, a spokesperson for the team, or, working for the team in ticket sales, or just popping up and making appearances. He was always there. He was kind of one of those guys. Like, you look back at the guys that you always see at these Islander events that they bring back from those dynasty teams. You think about it, it's Clark Gillies and Mike Bossy and Bobby Nystrom are 2 of the 3 first names that you usually see, or 2 of the 3 first people you see there for a lot of these events. And now to know that not only Clark Gillies, passing away earlier this year as well, losing Mike Bossy in the sad circumstances that he went as well is kind of a tough pill to swallow, especially this year.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it's almost fitting that the Islanders went up to Montreal last night where he was born, and they got a win for him. Mikey, I mean...
Eerie, really, when you think
right?
about it, because he's a god up in Montreal.
Yeah.
Absolute god up there. Talking to a few people that I know in the area yesterday, just saying how when they grow up, every kid in Montreal it's my age or our age, their early 40s, late 30s, grew up, Bossy was the guy.
Right.
Yeah. And that's it. Here's the thing. We didn't get to see him play live, obviously. We've seen the highlights. We've heard the stories. But he was a legend on and off the ice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because we've gotten to talk to him a lot, in the past couple of years, whether it was when I was doing the show with Butch and we'd have him come by and sit with us. Christian, he'd come by, just talking to him after big events that the Islanders would have. All of those things. And that's where I really, just had my interactions with him. Tremendous man. And what a tough year for the Islanders, really, just all around with Gillies and now Bossy. It's just brutal.
Yeah, and Jean Potvin as well. It's just
Potvin
unbelievable.
too. Yes.
Just putting a damper on what was otherwise supposed to be a big year for the Islanders, not only moving into the new building, obviously, but you had the high expectations of being Stanley Cup favorites. That's obviously not in the cards this year. So just a sad time right now overall with the loss of Mike Bossy.
Yeah, absolutely. It is weird, I guess, in a way that all of this is occurring with what's been going. The Islanders organization finally has some stability, and something that a lot of these guys from those Stanley Cup winning teams have been wanting for years, was that they wanted this team to have a permanent home and be a fixture in this community, and they were finally getting that, and it was great that they were able to kind of see the fruits of that labor bore out a little bit this year. You had a lot of the alumni come back for that Islanders opening night at UBS Arena back in November, and it's nice that they got to see that come to fruition at the very least, when you're kind of trying to find a silver lining here.
It's been a very strange year for them. I mean, like you just go from October 1st to now.
Right.
Things on and off the ice, very, very, very bizarre. And look, at this point, you kind of just want to get this season behind you and start looking ahead to next year. It's really the only positive thing that's come out is the arena, is that's open.
Right.
Other than that, I mean, it's been heartbreak on and off the ice. It's been very difficult.
Yeah, playing out the string here with under 10 days to go in the season. But speaking of on the ice, it was a moderately successful week for the Isles. They go 2-1. They split the home and home with the Pens. They obviously get the win last night in honor of Mike Bossy up in Montreal against the Habs. Interesting note, Semyon Varlamov, a late scratch with a non-COVID illness just before the game.
I saw that, and then they called, who was the backup? I can't think of his name. It was someone that was playing for Worcester, and they're like, because the message that we got, the media message that we got was something to the effect of, it was Ken Appleby. He backed up last night. And it was the effect of,
Kenny A.
Worcester, I guess, was playing nearby or something like that.
We love Kenny.
It was
were they
very
on the road
last minute.
On the road against the Marlies, or were they in where were they? In Toronto?
I have no. This was he was playing for the ECHL club, I think. They were playing somewhere in Quebec, and that's why he got the call up.
Get on the bus.
And
I was
they're
about
like,
to say,
they're
I
like,
guess
get on the bus.
On the short notice, he was the most available guy.
There's a specific team or town, I guess, they were playing in, and I can't pronounce it, so I'm not going to try. But there was nearby in the Quebec region, and so that's why.
You got to brush up on your French Canadian then, Christian, is what you're pretty much telling everybody. Brush up on that.
I did not take French in high school, so I
took
never
10th grade French for 3 years.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you retain anything?
No, I mean, it took the same.
Not a word.
I took 10th grade French in 10th, 11th, and 12th grade.
Yeah.
So I was I never advanced to the next class.
Fades
In
pretty
3
quick
years,
after
I had
that.
to take the same class because I couldn't get out of it. So
Okay.
10th grade French
You
for 3
struggled a bit.
years. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, it's
struggled,
behind you now.
Struggled / didn't care.
Okay. All right, that's fair. We appreciate your honesty here on Hockey Night in New York.
Mikey made it out of
So-
10th grade, I guess, so it was no big deal.
Well, overall, we made it out of 10th grade, yeah. But the French class carried. We didn't get through that. So.
It's okay. You're here. You're
They
here.
still let you
It's fine.
graduate.
Yes, they did.
It's fine. All right, so as a result of that, Ilya Sorokin ends up starting all 3 games this week. He gets the home and home with the Pens, and then he plays back-to-back, and maybe you get a little concerned on how he might perform last night after that game against the Pens, but puts up 44 saves after, actually 43 saves last night. He had a career-high 44 at UBS Arena for that shootout win against the Pens, but I guess it's good to see Sorokin get tested, so to speak, in a way that, he's able to carry the load when Varlamov goes down. He gets to play all 3 games in the week. He gets to play back-to-backs, and he gets a shutout in the second end, so that's not bad.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, Ilya Sorokin has been one of the, you talk about trying to find bright spots this season. Ilya Sorokin has been one of the few bright spots with this team this year. Even in some of the worst performances the Islanders have, Ilya Sorokin has consistently been, and Islanders goaltending as a whole, you could make an argument, say, has consistently been the best aspect of their game. Sorokin has really come along since, we originally saw him last year. I think even in that point he was still playing relatively impressively right out of the gate with the Islanders when they finally put him in last season, and obviously saw what we could do during the playoff run a little bit, and then this year kind of being put in the position where right out of the gate he has to be the number one guy, and you kind of all that talk of Seany and Varlamov's going to get this many games, and then we'll see Sorokin start to get a little bit more, kind of went right out the window, right? Because he basically had to be the guy for the first 8-9 games of the season, really, month of the season, and then you have him kind of playing that 1A 1B role with like Thomas Greiss did here in the past, and other goaltenders have in the past, and he's really thrived. It's been great to see, and for the Islanders, that's a huge thing to also see, considering their history with goaltenders. Yeah, their history with goaltenders is like Jets' history with quarterbacks. It's been terrible the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's definitely the biggest thing that you want to take out of this season is that you saw flashes last year in the shortened season. Yeah. You saw that this guy could be really good. He's still a kid, etc. And he's carried the load this year, and he's made you feel comfortable that going forward, it's a position that you're not going to have to worry about. Well, it's taken care of now. It really is. And here's the cherry on top. We spent so much time talking about this guy as a mythical figure, the white whale, as we like to say.
Indeed.
And we had no idea.
Did you know they have a sandwich here named the white whale?
I heard
Did
about
you know that?
I have to try that. We're going to get Donnie. We're going to finally try the white whale today.
Did Donnie give you any credit for that? I mean, did he give you credit for naming the sandwich?
I don't know. We have to talk to Don. We'll have to talk to Donnie. But look.
Well, off camera, you can't see it, but Mike's attorneys are also here waiting in the wings.
The papers are ready.
They're out in the car.
We have some legal documents that we're going to hand out. No, but we've been the talk of him because he's playing over in that garage league over there. You had no idea if he was actually good or not.
I mean, I don't know if I would call it a garage league.
Would.
I mean, second, third best league in the world.
I'd call it that. So he comes over here, and he has now shown you that he's the goods over a long stretch, not just a couple games, not just a short season or being a kind of a 1B backup to Varlamov like he was last year. I mean, the first round against the Penguins last year shows you, and then carrying the ball all year like he has here. Now makes it, boom, stamp it. He's good to go. He's your guy.
Yeah, for sure. And with that in mind, and we discussed this earlier on in the season around the trade deadline. And, with the performances Sorokin's had, with the way that he's broken out. Now, obviously, they kept Varlamov at the trade deadline. Do you think that that's something they might revisit when you get to the summer, where they might be willing to deal him? Or do you think the plan still remains to have them both together because Varlamov is still kind of a good buddy of Sorokin's? He's obviously kind of taking him under his wing. You think they keep that tandem together, and maybe they look to unload a salary in the summer?
There's always a salary cap situation that has to be worked out. And if there's a player available that you need to clear space for, what's the most logical spot now that you can look to clear it? So it's one of those areas where you can take a $5 million and just kind of move it out if you can.
Hey, listen, they got Ken Appleby and Corey Schneider waiting in the
wings. Well, that's Christian's guy, Appleby, Kenny A. So
Kenny A. I don't think anybody calls him that.
We do now.
We do now here at Hockey Night in New York. We do. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they do have a little more cap space going into the summer now, so it may not be a move that they need to make. There are some other potential salaries, maybe to the chagrin of some fans out there. But you have Josh Bailey on a little more of an expensive contract, maybe around $5 million. I mean, maybe he's a guy you look at. I don't know what you're going to get for him, but if you have to clear out salary, if you're adding other guys, maybe it's him. But it is either way. You're either going into next season with one of the top tandems in the league now with Sorokin and Varlamov, or hopefully they can have some magic like they have with Thomas Greiss backing up and whatnot, where you have the 1A 1B situation. So it's a good problem to have, seeing Sorokin really break out the way he has.
Yeah, absolutely. It's again, you look back at the Islanders' development or their luck with goaltenders in the last couple of years or last couple decades, I should say, and it's been a little bit rough. It's nice to see it finally paying off and panning out a bit. And the one thing Mikey just said a couple of minutes ago was that everyone keeps calling Sorokin a kid. But when you think about it, he's a 20. He's not. He's 26 now.
He played so long over there, and he just comes over here, and you think of him as that.
Well, he also really kind of has that baby face. And it's very deceiving.
Like you.
Thin and lanky. Oh, thank you. Listen,
always and forever.
I'm taking that as a compliment. You guys are not gonna let that get to me today.
You're gonna be 60, and Brian Compton's still gonna be talking about juice boxes.
We talk about this all the time. I'm gonna turn 30 this year. I'm pretty sure Brian Compton's gonna make all those jokes all the time still.
Yeah, big 3-0 for you.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Like I'm getting old, Sean. Like I'm getting
Wow,
old.
you're almost old enough to drink.
I don't want to hear it, dude. I don't want to hear it at all.
3-0.
I don't want to hear it.
How about that? Well, another happening on the ice as far as roster goes, you have Kiefer Bellows finally getting into some games. He comes in for Oliver Walsh in the last 2, gets a secondary assist on Parise's goal last night. Mikey C., I'm going to start with you here. Does this guy still have a future with the New York Islanders?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Care to expand?
No, I think
No.
that he does.
No.
I think that he does. I don't like who gets moved in and who gets moved out, obviously, especially when we're at a point of the year where, like you said, playing out the string, as they like to say.
Yeah.
That if you're playing out the string, then there's probably other guys that can come out of the lineup as opposed to maybe, say, an Oliver Wallstrom, et cetera. I think that there's other ways to take a look at guys, let them play the last 8, 9, 10 games of the year without, doing that.
And with that in mind, Christian, I'll pitch this to you. Is there a little frustration maybe coming out of Islander country? They've been wanting to see Oliver Wallstrom be in games, and now they take him out for Bellows when they're playing out the string, like Mikey says. I mean, would it make more sense to have them both in and just see what they both can do? Or maybe that's, it's going to come at the expense of a veteran, and that's something Barry Trotz isn't willing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously going to be frustrating to the fans who've been clamoring to see Wallstrom and
Clamoring.
Well, they have. Listen, they were clamoring to see him play on the top line. They finally saw that in the last couple weeks or so, and they want him out there.
Some mixed results.
Yeah, it's some mixed results, but you want to see it at this point. And like we've talked about before, this is the point in time when you can kind of do that because these games don't matter. This is the time where you can mix and match, and guys got to compete for jobs next year. And if I'm Barry Trotz too, these veterans that have finally decided to turn it on in the second half of the season, late when it doesn't matter anymore. There kind of needs to be a little bit a kick in the butt there as well. Everyone's got to play for jobs at this point. And, I think a guy like Wallstrom needs to be out there at the very least, just because he's the guy that you're kind of pinning a lot of your hopes on to be kind of that future of the organization a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny seeing the fan base out there kind of getting a little frustrated with Barry Trotz and with the way he's used these young guys. And obviously it's been pretty well documented now since he's taken over the team that he likes to take his time with the young guys. But to the flip side of that, he rewards the young guys when they perform. Look at Noah Dobson. He was drafted the same year as Oliver Wallstrom. If he wasn't ready, he'd be doing the same thing. But obviously, he's broken out this year. He's got 42 points now in the season. Might be the first 45-point guy since Nick Leddy back in 2017. So that's pretty big time for him in a breakout year where he really didn't start putting points up until the end of January. So, Mikey, why don't you...
Second biggest development for the Islanders
Right?
this year on the ice after Sorokin is the Dobson maturation and making him, that he's going to be a part, solid, a top 4 defenseman in the future. I think that's the second biggest thing after Sorokin this year that's been accomplished.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree there. That was something that when it came defensively, too, the Islanders, you had Ryan Pulock and Adam Pelech established now as your 1 and 2, and Noah Dobson was that next big piece back there on the blue line, and it started a little shaky this year. You saw bits and pieces where you go, oh boy, this could go either way. And then I think, what was it, maybe after, let's say December, January, you really started to kind of see him get into where he started to feel more comfortable. And a lot of those little mistakes that I think he was making earlier in the year, they've kind of gone away for the most part. And you kind of saw him smooth out his game a bit more and become a lot more comfortable on the ice. But I think, Shawnee, someone who have great insight to this would be our guest coming up here after the break, Butch Goring, who's waiting in the wings along with Mikey's lawyers.
Yes, the man is in the house. Can't wait to have Butchie on the show. Fantastic that he came down. Looking forward to that. Keep the train rolling here a little bit. Zach Parise hits 15 goals. He gets a power play goal and a shorthanded goal for the first time in the same game Tuesday against the Pens at UBS Arena. He has 4 goals in the last 3 games. The guy finally came on in the second half of the season. Mikey, I mean, it's funny. He joked about being a second-half player back when he was struggling, and here he is being a second-half player. Do you like the fact that they extended him for a year? Do you think that he's going to be a guy that can help going into next season?
If he plays like he did in the second half, sure, why not?
Fair, yeah.
Look, better late than never. I guess you wanted to see some kind of shades. You wanted to see some things go. So I think it's good that you've seen this happen.
Yeah.
Because in the first half it looked like a really bad decision. And now you're starting. Now
Not great.
look. If he plays like this, he has in the second half. He could be a useful piece next year for what they're trying to do, which is clearly pretty much bring the same group back together in a better situation maybe add a piece or two here or
They need
there.
to add a piece or two. You
Well,
can't-
that's what. Listen,
Yeah.
Christian, you from the outside, you that's kind of the look at what they're trying to do here. Is what they're trying to keep the same group and maybe sprinkle and add here or there. I don't know if I agree with it or not, but that's what it looks like they're trying to do.
Interesting. I'm fine with that. I think that's the way to go. Keep the majority of this group together. I mean, look, I think there's two glaring
Sean's
positions.
a big apologist these days.
Sure. I think there's two glaring positions that we've talked about ad nauseum almost in the show
Yeah.
at this point. Where, look, you need a top six winger, probably a left winger for Matt Barzal.
We've been doing that since we were 15.
Well, that's
I mean,
actually
we've been
true.
Talking about that.
Yeah,
player.
you got to get a winger for Yashin. You got to
know,
get a winger for Barzal. You got to
so
get a winger
we've
for
been doing this for a
Tavares.
long time.
No, it's
Sorry,
true.
what was that last name?
Never mind. But no, you're right.
Baltimore?
It seems to be something that's been elusive. Maybe the
Need a winger for Smolinski.
the remaining white whale is that winger for the top line. So
Yeah.
maybe that's something they could do. And obviously they need a top 4D. They need a left defenseman to pair up with that Noah Dobson because look, as much as people may love or hate Andy Green and Zdeno Chara, that's not going to cut it if they're lining up next to him
Shouldn't be
next
playing
year
right now.
at all.
Shouldn't be playing at all.
Okay,
Which one?
So
Both of them.
Oh.
I don't care.
So you're
who you
ready to
have.
cut the cord.
I don't care who you have down there.
Yeah.
You need to see what they have. Now is the time. When you come into next year, you don't have time to do that. You need to start working on getting points and making the playoffs again. Now is when you play guys that you want to take a look at
what I'm
Bridgeport,
saying.
not guys like that. Those guys shouldn't be
I'm
playing
with
right
Mike 100% there.
it's hard to
100%.
disagree. It's hard to disagree. As good a careers as those guys had, I mean, we're seeing how they're aging out, and we're seeing how it's cost this team some points this season. And these are guys that they have to move on from. I think if you see them, in the top 6 next year, Lou Lamoriello obviously did not
Can't have it.
get the job done over the summer. But that's something we'll talk about as we hit the summer. But right now, we are going to break. We want to thank you guys so much for tuning in live at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. And, of course, everybody hanging out here at Blue Line Deli and Bagels in Huntington. We're going to take that break. When we come back, Islanders legend Butch Goring will be joining us.
Nikki, where should I go to watch the Islander game?
Dad, where should Fran go to watch the Islander game?
Just tell her to go to RJ Daniels.
Love the Isles? Go to RJ Daniels and enjoy your favorite hockey team with their big screen TVs and in-game sound. RJ Daniels also provides indoor and outdoor dining, catering, a vibrant late-night bar scene, and weekly live entertainment. Need great planials? Go to RJ Daniels. Call or visit online at rjdaniels.com.
From the Coliseum to UBS Arena, we're still rocking the barn.
We made a product based on something that we're big fans of.
You're going to rock the barn, you're going to have a barn rocker.
Oyster Bay Brewing Company's Barn Rocker, available at UBS Arena and everywhere beer is sold.
I don't want to hear it. It's over. I can't believe they fell short again.
Yeah, but they played so well. They made it to the semifinals 2 years in a row.
The semifinals aren't the cup. God damn it, hate those lightning.
They'll get another shot at it next year.
I don't even want to talk about it anymore, all right? They lost, okay? Let me just sit here and enjoy the one thing that makes me a little bit happy. This fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty, turkey-filled Blue Line Combo. I eat 3 every day to help keep me strong.
Hey, Donnie, can I have one of those?
Coming right up. Talk about a blast from the Blue Line.
Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Our goal is to make you a hero.
Bonnie and C. Arnold on Hockey Night in New York.
Welcome back to the program, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening and watching Hockey Night in New York. I want to thank you all for tuning in at this early time on Saturday morning. And just about to sit down with us right now is the legend, Mr. Butch Goring. Just going to get him set up here. Once he sits down, we'll get going.
Yes, he's actually on loan to us today from MSG Networks.
Butch, thank you so much for coming down today. Really appreciate it. How are you?
Well, I'm okay, really, to tell you the truth. It's, we all went through a very tough time yesterday with losing Mike Bossy, and everybody was trying to recover. But Boss did a great job in net last night, didn't he? Because he was in net.
God.
He was in net with Sorokin. There's no doubt in my mind. He was there, and what a big win for the Islanders, and what a way to salute the life and the career of Boss.
Yeah, just amazing, and how fitting that they ended up playing up in Montreal last night, getting the win. I mean, it's almost like it was written in the stars there. But, I mean, obviously it's a sad time for Islander country. We appreciate you still coming out, despite the loss. We're very sorry for your loss. But maybe just to start it off here, you can kind of reflect on your relationship with Mike and just playing with him through those amazing years with the Dynasty.
Well, when I first joined the Islanders, you don't really know all the players. You've played against them, and I was fortunate enough to be able to sit right beside Mike Bossy, and of course he was on my right side, which was very, very appropriate. And then really for the next 4.5 or whatever time it was, we spent together. We talked a lot, and I got to know a lot about Mike, and it's been pretty much documented that Mike was first and foremost a family man. Spent a lot of time with his family, and that's the right thing, and we all did, but Mike. That was his priority, but when he came to the rink, his priority was hockey, and he wasn't a jokester. He would have a laugh, but he was all business. He was there to do exactly what he does so often, and that was score goals. So he always prepared himself in the dressing room, or whether it was practice or whether it was a game. It was always the same thing with Mike. He was always ready to go, and there was no fooling around. You better be ready to practice against him, otherwise he's gonna make you look foolish. And he certainly made it very, very difficult on the goaltenders during practice, and obviously the opposition goaltenders. So a really polite individual. Mike never had bad things to say about anybody, and he basically, him and Brian Trottier, great chemistry, as we all know, and we're the best of friends, and that's almost like how it has to be. If you want to have a great relationship and a lot of success on the line, it's the one guy or maybe two guys, and you have to become almost best friends. And they were. They roomed together, they went out to dinner together, and they were almost inseparable. I can remember times in my life that I had my wingers, and it became much the same thing. And it's just the way, it's just that inner feeling that you have for each other, and it's just the drive between the two of them was a special thing.
Butch, when you think back to that time playing with Bossy and kind of being around him as much, what was that experience like for you and the development of how your game kind of established itself over your career as an Islander?
Well, every time I came to practice and every time I came to a game, I was hoping that Al would put me with him.
That's fair.
Because
I'd hope that too.
When you play with a guy that's that good and so efficient around the net, and I did play a few games with him. Brian was either injured or for some reason or other. I did play a few games with him, and when you give that guy a pass in a high-scoring area, you got an assist. It was marvelous. It's the way he could finish. So. Just to be around, and as I said, when I was with the Kings and watched Boss play a couple of times, you could see that the guy had talent, but until you get to watch him on a daily basis, and again, to watch the dedication he has to the game and the willingness to go to the front of the net and take the beatings, and because that desire to score was worth anything that could possibly happen to him. So it was good, and it was fun to watch him grow as a hockey player. I think his reputation is when he first came into the league was he's a goal scorer, right? He did it in junior hockey, and then he did it when he got to the National Hockey League, 53 goals in his rookie season. So he established himself as a goal scorer, but questions were, could he play the complete game? Right. And I've talked to him a number of times about that, and that's all he ever talked about is that I can check, I can pass, I can skate, I can play in my own zone, I can kill penalties, and I didn't let him do that too often. That was kind of my territory. I was like, no, I don't think you should do that, Mike. But he was always wanting to get better and better, and he did.
The one thing I think that is really cool is that you had that time and saw him in practice every day and saw what a special player he was. But for you, when you think of Mike Bossy, what is the one particular thing that I think stands out that made him so special, that seeing him practice every day and playing with him all the time, people who watch the game or people who cover the game, they don't see that. What is that one little thing that made him so unique and special out there?
Well, I think a couple of things. One is that, and Mike's been asked an awful lot of times about, when he's in a crowd or when something's happening, do you have time to look? Do you know where you're shooting, or do you just shoot it? And his answer was always, no, I just shoot it. And I fully believe that's crock. There's no truth to that at all. I believe that he knew exactly where he was shooting. He had certainly studied goaltending tendencies. And he knew where you've heard me say the net never moves.
Right.
So he knew where that was, and so I believe in a crowd when he had no time to really look. I believe that there was not guesswork on him. He didn't fire because he didn't hit the goalie in the middle very often, did he? And then the other thing is that really impressed me about Mike is that just his willingness to to go to that hard area, and. Games in the 80s in particular, they were still really difficult. There was high sticks, there was spearing, and there was all kinds of hacking and whacking. And as I said, Mike was willing to take the beatings to score a goal because for him, it was the ultimate test for him. And he knew when he could score, he was helping his team.
Butchie, it's great to see you,
Good
my
to
man.
see you again, Mike. I haven't in a while, yes.
So I was doing my show last night on Sirius with, guys who don't know hockey as well as we know hockey. And I'm talking, he's possibly the greatest pure goal scorer. It's like you were saying before. He wanted to do everything. He could do everything. He's a goal scorer, maybe the purest of all time in the game. So they start throwing names. But Gretzky has the most goals. Gretzky is the greatest playmaker, greatest player of all time. Pure goal scorer. Bossy, Ovi. I think Mario actually should be in there as well. And maybe Yager. Even though Gretzky's got the most goals, Bossy was a better pure goal scorer than Gretzky. Let's just be serious.
Yeah, when I was fortunate enough to have my number retired, I talked about Bossy. He was there, and I was really thankful that he was there. That was important for me, and I made the statement. And no disrespect to Barry Trotz, who spent time with Ovechkin, that Mike Bossy is and maybe will always be the greatest goal scorer in the world, the purest guy. And when you look at what he accomplished, I mean, they're talking about OV now scoring getting to his 50th goal, and he's going to be the third player that ever scored 50 goals, in 9 different seasons. That word "different" means a lot.
Not in a row.
Bossy did it. Bossy did it in a row, and he did it right from his rookie year. So that tells me, that's something special. I don't know if that'll ever happen again. I mean, records are always made to be broken. And the way he scored goals, if he's a healthy guy, he does it every year of his life. I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind. And people always say, well, could guys from the 70s, the 80s play today? Well, the great players can because they can adapt. I mean, they understand what the game's all about, and they'll change their game. When we played in the 70s, we played a particular style, and that's the way you had to play. They play a different style in today's game. Are they better than us? No, I don't think they're better than us, and we're not better than them. It's a different game today. Mike Bossy is a goal scorer. He could play any sport, and I imagine he'd be great at darts because he could certainly hit the targets.
Now, Butch, you mentioned your jersey retirement. Maybe we can just go back to that day, and you can talk about what that meant for you and just how special that was, getting your number raised up to the rafters. Could you tell us a little bit about that experience for you?
Yeah, well, one of the greatest days of my life. I mean, when you look up there in the toy department and you
way up there.
Yeah, and you see the numbers that are up there. Yeah. I mean, those guys are all Hall of Famers. And to be put amongst those guys is really something special. I mean, that's a special privilege, and I was totally blown away and honored by being sort of in the same group as those guys, and you don't play hockey to have your jersey retired. I mean, I didn't start my career as an NHLer and think about, oh, geez, I hope I can get my number retired or my jersey retired. Those things just happen. They're like, I guess, the icing on the cake, really, for lack of a better term. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful day. It was great a week earlier to see John Tonelli's number and jersey retired, or not his number, obviously, because Anders Lee does it justice. But we had such a special group of guys back in the 80s, and I joined them a little later than a lot of them were there, and they had the hardship and the learning curve in 78 and 79. But there was a lot of special players there, and I'm not saying everybody should have their number or jersey retired, but you know what? We don't win 4 cups in a row with everybody not contributing along the way. And so it's to be honored like that was really, really special.
Talking with Butch Goring, the Islanders analyst for MSG Network. Everyone's so used to seeing you. And I know that when Sean and I announced that you were coming on with us this week, there are a lot of people that reached out and miss you on the broadcast. What has that been like? Kind of your transition from player to coach to broadcaster, and kind of creating a new generation of Butch Goring fan that know you from all the TV appearances.
It's
now.
Well, first and foremost, I've been so fortunate, to be able to have a job in something I love.
Yeah.
I mean, not many people can say that, and it's really, started as a professional way back in 1969, and I've been in hockey, and it's been my passion, but it's also been my job for how many years now? A whole lot of years. So. Yeah. You know what? When I was playing hockey, I had thought about being a coach. That was always on my mind, and that opportunity came. But I never thought being a broadcaster. That never crossed my mind. And then I had an opportunity back a number of years now to do a pregame with I believe it was the Buffalo Sabres Islanders when they were in a playoff series. Ricky DiPietro was in net. I remember that. And so I had an opportunity. I was asked to do that, and. So well, why not? Why not? And I had no experience at that. I was actually fairly shy in high school, where I really didn't public speak. The thought of talking in front of 10,000 people or my peers at 100,000 kids was beyond. That wasn't going to happen. And as a matter of fact, so I get ready to do the show, and we do a rehearsal. Mike Crispy is the host with me. And so the producers in my ear said, "Okay, ready, go," and we're going to start producing. And I was so out of whack. I mean, and the producer was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And but I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." And hey, I got through it, and I'm not saying I should have won an Emmy for it, because that would have been a pretty stretch. But, as time went on and I had the opportunity, and as you guys all remember, with Hockey Night Live was really a big boost for me, because that gave me the opportunity to get in front of a camera with Dave Maloney and Kenny Danico, and L.L. Troutwick was the host. And that was a great show, and that really allowed me to kind of relax a little bit, get used to being in front of a camera and doing all the things you need to do. So I love it now. I mean, I really have a lot of fun with it, and I miss the guys because of COVID for the last 2 years. To be able to sit down with the guys and joke with them and ask them questions that I know that sometimes I'm the only one that can get the answer, because they trust me enough to know that I'm not going to blow them up. So it's really something I enjoy, and I miss not being able to do the games right now, but I feel pretty comfortable in saying I'm going to be back on Tuesday, and
nice.
So for me that's important.
Finish out the season strong, Butch. That's what you got to do. Get back in there and finish it strong. And make sure you add to the ledger, all that stuff. Doing those shows in the basement of the Paramount with me. Yeah, you got to put those on the list as well there back in the day.
Yeah, those were great times, too.
Those were fun times. Yes. And how about this year, now doing the broadcast in a brand new arena, a brand new sight line? I mean, Coliseum for so long. I mean, it's been kind of the one big thing this year. We know it's been a disappointing year on the ice, and in some instances off the ice too. But being in the new arena now, I mean, it's just as fantastic as everybody imagined it was going to be.
It really is, and hats off to the Islander organization, Scott Malkin and John Ledecky, for doing all the homework they needed to do and to make sure that building is the best in the world. I mean, it is so special, and I know the fans love it, and certainly Brendan and I we love it. I mean, our perch is so good. We're just at the first level, and so we can see everything that goes on. And not that doesn't mean we miss things every once in a while, but it's really a wonderful facility. I know the players are thrilled with it, and you're right. I mean, the Coliseum was a special place, a lot of history there, but the UBS is just a wonderful, wonderful building.
Oh, no doubt about it. And Butch, to bring it to the ice, obviously this team's season hasn't gone as everybody hoped, as everybody expected. A little bit disappointing. They have maybe like 8 games to play out the string here. Do you think maybe, you're heading into the summer? I mean, are they that far off? You look at what happened at the beginning of the year. They had the COVID issues. They had, obviously, the long road trip. Is this a team that was once pegged to be a Stanley Cup contender this year? Do you think they're that far away? Just a little retool this summer for next year?
No, I really, in watching them closely, the first half was really, really tough to, to deal with. And we're spectators. You can imagine what was going on in that dressing room with the coaching staff.
They got sandbagged the first 2 months, Butch.
Well, boy, oh boy. Had I known, right, we could have made a lot of money betting against them. Right?
Wow.
I mean, 13-game road trips, half the team going out with COVID.
Yeah,
I mean, they got sandbagged the first 2-3 months.
It was really, a tough scenario. Certainly, when you look at the road trip, I don't think the road trip played as big a deal as a lot of people do because they started off really well, and so they were okay. And if they could have got through that and felt good about that, I think it would have been okay. There's no doubt that the COVID really wrecked. I think that's the turning point of the season for me is when they, played a half a dozen games with, half their hockey team and they didn't. Where they go to 8 games without a win or something, and that was the stretch that really not only did it hurt them in the standings, and now all of a sudden you're -8 instead of maybe you're +4 or what have you. Just mentally, that was tough. I mean, the one thing you don't want to do is stumble out of the gate because now it's not you're chasing the game the entire season. There's a lot more pressure on you now, and you're trying to win hockey games, and every game becomes that much more important. Where if you're bust out of the gate and you're 8-0-2 or something, well, you've got some room. You can actually have a bad game, and you just sort of shake it off. So. So they really had a tough go with all of that, and when they had the opportunity to kind of get it go, they still couldn't click. And now we're seeing, what Parise is all about. We're seeing what Palmieri's all about, and Pajot and Anders Lee. I mean, and certainly Brock Nelson has had a wonderful year, but everybody seems to be able to find their game over these last 30 games and. That gives me hope that this is the real deal, that they were able to kind of, whatever was going through them for those first 40 to 50 games, they've got over that hump. And I think that brings a lot of pride into that dressing room, but I think it brings a lot more confidence.
Butch, that's a great segue to my next question. I mean, in a season like this, you look for bright spots, right? And, you mentioned Brock Nelson, the season he's having. Before you came on, we were talking about Noah Dobson, Ilya Sorokin. Were there any bright spots for you this season that maybe the Islanders can look at, players on the ice that gives them a little more hope and confidence for next season?
Well, you mentioned them. I mean, certainly, I think it was important for Noah Dobson to take that next step. I mean, as soon as you hear the word first-round pick, everybody gets all excited, like everybody's going to be Bobby Orr or everybody's going to be Sidney Crosby, that type of thing. And the steps that he's taken this year I think is really encouraging. That this guy's something special. What's his highest level? What is he going to be? I don't know because I don't want to put a ceiling on him. I want him to keep going like he's been going, and it's been terrific. And I think I always believe this is that you need a stud back there. You need someone who can dominate at different times. You see it around the league. The all-star defenseman. You see Makar out, and you see Ekblad, and the list goes. Letang in Pittsburgh. The list goes on. Adam Fox. All the teams that are really successful have a stud back there, and I think the Islanders now looking at Noah Dobson. I think they're going to have that guy. I mean, when we were winning Stanley Cups, we had a stud back there. We had a great defense.
Right.
Dennis Potvin was a flat-out stud. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, and you need that guy back in the defensive zone that can take charge. And to me, that's where Noah Dobson is headed.
But someone asked us the other week, I think it was last week's show actually, about kind of the mentality when they're having a season like this, and playing the role of spoiler. The Islanders kind of had that opportunity on Tuesday when they beat the Penguins. Obviously, the Penguins get the win on Thursday. But what is sort of, as someone who's played, and what is sort of the mentality when you're having a season like this? Do you enjoy playing spoiler? Is that sort of you just got to grab onto something to kind of finish out? How do you look at, as a player, how do you look at something like that?
You don't like playing spoiler. No, because that means you're out of it, right. And I don't like to hear that word. Oh, at least you can be spoiler. The heck with that nonsense. Right. You're a professional and you're passionate about your game. And all those guys in the Islander dressing room, they're passionate about hockey in general. Mm-hmm. So when they come to the rink, they want to play. That's why they're there. They want to play and they want to win. they don't care about the standings anymore. I mean, yeah, if the standings, you might look at it if it was important.
Right.
But generally speaking, you come to the rink and you want to win. I mean, I know when I left the rink, if the team didn't win, I was upset. You know, who wants to lose hockey games? Who wants to lose at anything, really, when you think about it? So these guys are the same way. So they don't want to be called spoilers. They don't really care one iota about Pittsburgh or Flyers or whoever it may be. They just want to go there, and when they leave the rink, they want a W, bottom line.
No, that's it. And it's going to be tough not having them this year because the team is built for the playoffs, but we've seen it the last 2 years. This team is built to get into that 7-game series structure and beat teams. Unfortunately, next year they're going to have to wait for that. I thought it was interesting last night that after the game, both Barzal and Barry made a point to kind of pump up Sorokin for the Vezina. Like, you don't see it too often, but he does deserve to be in that conversation because, well, the guy on the other side of town, the Rangers are winning, so he's getting pumped up for it. But I don't think that they're far off. He probably should get a little bit more consideration than people are giving him.
Yeah, and you know what the bottom line is? They're not going to be in the playoffs. And then
that's what it comes to.
Yeah, and then, we can have
But that's not an MVP award, Butch.
No, I know it's
It
not.
should be the best goal. That's not an MVP award.
And I don't disagree with you in any way, shape, or form. But if your goaltender's having an outstanding year, aren't you supposed to win hockey games? Isn't he supposed to be a difference maker?
Sandbag.
Yeah. You know what? Sorokin has had an outstanding year. I mean, look at 7 shutouts now, and his goals against. I think he's in top 3 in a bunch of different stats. I'm not a stats guy or analytic guy. So yeah, he should be mentioned. But there are goalies that have had outstanding seasons also. So if the Isles were in the playoffs, I think he'd get a real serious look. But I don't disagree at all, and I think the fans who have been rumblings about that, they have every right to, and it's fair.
And Butch, the last one I'll leave you with here, you talk about stars on this team, and the one that gets a lot of attention now is obviously Matt Barzal. How has he developed with this team, and does he have that star power to lead a first line and maybe hit another gear here to lead this team towards a deep playoff run again?
He has to.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back to talk about having a stud on D. You got to have a guy that's a stud on the front line, and Brock Nelson has certainly had a great season thus far, and maybe he'll get to 40 goals. I'm not sure, but Barzal has that capability to have that 100-point season, and that for me is where he has to go, and he's had moments where he is spectacular. And then he's had other moments where he hasn't been as spectacular as the team needs him to be. So I think he's still a work in progress. I think that he's starting to find some real comfort with Parise right now. Some pretty good chemistry, but I just believe that he's a guy that's still learning about how he needs to play in the National Hockey League. And I never want to take it. And I love Matt Barzal. I mean, anybody who listens to me on the broadcast knows that he's one of my favorite people, and I love the things he does and. Some of the things that he does, I could never do, and I was pretty good on my feet, but he's an amazing individual. But I believe that he still has room to grow, and I hope he continues to grow because I think without a 100-point guy on the Islanders team, I don't know if you can win a Stanley Cup. And again, you look around the league, and you talk about all the teams that are in the playoffs, and you look at the Rangers, and you look at Pittsburgh, and you look at Florida, and you look at Tampa, and you look at the points that all their guys, their big guns, are putting up, and the Islanders are behind in that category, so to me they've got to get better.
Butch, no doubt about it. And listen, we can't thank you enough for coming down and spending all this time with us. We really appreciate it. Absolutely amazing stuff. Thank you so much. And once again, very sorry for your loss.
Yeah, thank
Mike
you.
Bossy.
I appreciate it. Well, not just my loss, it's my teammates and certainly all Islander fans and the hockey world. Mike was a wonderful guy, and he was a legend.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we're going to take another break here. Thank you so much for tuning in live at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. And, of course, later on your favorite podcast providers, the legend, the great Butch Goring. Thank you so much. We're going to take that break. And when we come back, Andrew Gross from Newsday will be joining us.
Nikki, where should I go to watch the Islander game?
Dad, where should Fran go to watch the Islander game?
Just tell her to go to RJ Daniels.
Love the Isles? Go to RJ Daniels and enjoy your favorite hockey team with their big screen TVs and in-game sound. RJ Daniels also provides indoor and outdoor dining, catering, a vibrant late-night bar scene, and weekly live entertainment. Need great planials? Go to RJ Daniels. Call or visit online at rjdaniels.com.
From the Coliseum to UBS Arena, we're still rocking the barn.
We made a product based on something that we're big fans of.
You're going to rock the barn, you're going to have a barn rocker.
Oyster Bay Brewing Company's Barn Rocker, available at UBS Arena and everywhere beer is sold.
I don't want to hear it. It's over. I can't believe they fell short again.
Yeah, but they played so well. They made it to the semifinals 2 years in a row.
The semifinals aren't the cup. God damn it, I hate those Lightning.
They'll get another shot at it next year.
I don't even want to talk about it anymore, all right? They lost, okay? Let me just sit here and enjoy the one thing that makes me a little bit happy. This fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty, turkey-filled Blue Line Combo. I eat 3 every day to help keep me strong.
Hey, Donnie, can I have one of those?
Coming right up. Talk about a blast from the Blue Line.
Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Our goal is to make you a hero.
Did you have a nice break? Well, it's time to get back on the couch for more Islanders therapy with Seany and C. Arnold on Hockey Night in New York.
Welcome back to Hockey Night in New York, a special early morning edition live from Blue Line Deli and Bagel out here in Huntington, Long Island. And of course, it's everyone's favorite time of the show. That's On the Line, brought to you by our great friends over at Thai Technology. And with us on the line is the great Newsday Islanders beat writer, Andrew Gross, all the way from Montreal. Andrew, what's going on, man?
Hey, morning. Sean, Christian, how's everyone? I hope you guys have had a bagel for this morning.
Well, Shawnee did. Shawnee got here bright and early. He got some breakfast in him.
Somebody has to set the show up, you know?
Yeah. Well, the star shows up fashionably late or close to being on time. So, I had things to do. But, Andrew, we really do appreciate you coming on and joining us this morning. A lot to talk about when it comes to the New York Islanders, and, very interesting week of hockey for the Blue and Orange. A 2-1 week this week with a nice win over the Montreal Canadiens and, a fun win over the Pittsburgh Penguins earlier in the week. Andrew, when you look at kind of the collective week that the Islanders have, what would you make of it?
It's really tough to get a gauge. I mean, obviously, they're mathematically still alive in it. The 3-0 win here in Montreal last night, that was nothing more than Ilya Sorokin, just really standing on his head for most of the game, and a little bit of, obviously actually a lot of emotional motivation, especially in the third period. They go into the last 20, 0-0, knowing they can get a win on the road. It was a really emotional night in Montreal on a couple of fronts. I mean, it was just so fitting that the Islanders were in Montreal the day that Mike Bossy's death was announced, because he meant so much, not only to Long Island, but to the Montreal community. And it was a really touching, emotional moment before the game. They did a moment of silence, a tribute to him. And then also to have Carey Price's return on top of that. It was just a really charged atmosphere at Bell Center for two teams that are not going to make the playoffs. And the Islanders found the resolve in the last 20 minutes, backed by Sorokin, to get that win. But you know what, Barry Trotz was talking about the game, about just how tired his team really is at this point. He says it feels like they've been playing 5 games a week now for like 2 months. And if you look at the schedule, he's almost correct on that. The loss in Pittsburgh, 6-3. I know there were 2 netters at the end, so it's a little bit skewed. But that was just a team that's, the legs are not going to be there for a full 60 minutes, and against a team with Crosby and Letang, and that's going to be an issue. It's going to be very interesting to see. They'll have a little bit of rest. They're off today, and to go into Toronto tomorrow against the playoff-bound Maple Leafs. And again, the Islanders are going to be motivated for that game. They always are, regardless of what they say whenever they're playing John Tavares. And and a lot of guys, for a lot of guys, going to Toronto is, that's a highlight game. Just getting back to the Toronto area, for Canadians, just like it is playing in Montreal. So it should be a motivated game. But look, really, there's no pressure on them, so it's kind of hard to gauge losses. And we'll see. Whatever if the Caps win in Montreal tonight and gain the 2 points. Then the Islanders, they lose a point in Toronto, that would mean playoff elimination for them.
Andrew, I want to ask you about the week that Zach Parise has had. It's certainly been certainly one to remember for him. Very active goal scoring wise. He's always been an active player when he's on the ice, and when you look back at the season, it's kind of a tale of two Zach Parises, and that, of course, the first half he was somewhat when it came to scoring, he just wasn't able to find the back of the net. And then when it came in the second half of the year, he seems a lot more comfortable. And I mean, if there's anyone that's able to speak with a lot of authority when it comes to Zach Parise, you're certainly the guy, having covered him in New Jersey and been around him a bit. What do you make of the this season for Parise and kind of what that means going forward for him too, and what the Islanders can kind of expect out of him?
It's funny. I actually the first time I talked to Zach was during the 04-05 lockout, the 05 AHL All-Star game.
Wow.
Which Zach Parise played in. And I remember the dressing room with him and chatting. I know, he always has time to talk about his dad, but, we were talking about JP and, what he was hoping for out of his own career. And this was back in 05. I think that was January or February of 05. So, yeah, I've known Zach a long time. And, I caught up with him on the previous road trip. I think there was a practice in Carolina. And I had a chance to speak to him one-on-one. And we got into a good chat about his early season struggles. And really a lot of it was you get bought out by Minnesota. And I don't care who you are, that stings, to be told by a team that you are no longer wanted on that kind of deal, that you are no longer the player that you think you are. And last season was really rough for Zach because not only, were the rumors out there that the Wild might move on from his contract, but he was being healthy scratched, in about a third of the game, it looks like. And, the first part of his tenure here with the Islanders, even if he tried not to, a lot of it was trying too hard to prove the naysayers incorrect. And he said, in a way, it sort of did get into his head a little bit. And once he was able to flush that from his mind and just kind of get back to, just playing with a little more freedom in his game, you see the results. It's 4 goals in 3 games. He's got 15 goals since the cap turned, I think. And, if he can play at this level, he's going to be a really productive, good player for this team next season. They already have him signed up. He's not a top 6 forward anymore, but in the role he's in, and he plays both on the power play and on the penalty kill, as does Jean-Gabriel Pageau. He's a real valuable tool at this point, especially if he, if he can chip in 15 to 20 goals next season, that would be more than the Islanders could ask, really.
Yeah, Andrew, I think you hit some great notes there, just talking about the adjustment, maybe dealing with the humbling of the buyout, and of course adjusting to a new team here. So, yeah, I think you're onto something that maybe this is a guy who, through a full season of Zach Parise being comfortable with the team, maybe you get 20 or so goals from him, which would obviously be a big boon for this team. And I guess you have to extend the same question over a guy like Kyle Palmieri, who, for whatever reason, has been a little up and down during the regular season with this team. Obviously, he was this year. Kind of mirrored Zach Parise, wait until the second half. Is he a guy who can also, perhaps come out of the gate at the start of the year next year and maybe pump in a few more goals as well?
I sort of think the Islanders are going to wind up relying on that,
right.
Depending on, can they add a top 6 wing in the offseason? What kind of moves are going to be made? But, you have to, they're going to be relying on Kyle Palmieri to be a more consistent player. And they relied upon it this season. And, not to throw everything on Kyle, because it's certainly not all Kyle's fault, but, the lack of production early in the season from guys like Kyle Palmieri and Zach Parise and Josh Bailey, in terms of goal scoring, it really hamstrung this team. And, we can go over the litany of what this team was struggling, through the turn of the calendar. All the COVID stuff, the wacky schedule, all that type of stuff. But no one cares about that in terms of the standings. And Kyle Palmieri had to produce more. They all had, all the top six forwards had to produce more. And if it starts that way again next season, you're going to see the same thing where the Islanders are going to wind up missing the playoffs. That said, you certainly think what you've seen out of, Kyle and Zach and to an extent Josh, in terms of the way maybe he's been a little more emphatic in looking for a shot from time to time. If all those guys are back next season and you're relying on them, there's some signs that they could start a little bit better. To be honest, what would really help Kyle Palmieri is if the net was increased by just 6 inches. He might be a 50 goal scorer because he's hit more posts and he's had more near misses than I think anyone in the NHL this season.
Yeah, he also has to make sure his line mates are on side and they stay away from the goalie because I think he might have the record for most disallowed goals this season. But two in one game is something I hadn't seen before. So yes, that was a rarity. We're talking to Andrew Gross of Newsday on the line, brought to you by Tide Technology here on Hockey Night in New York. And Andrew, I want to pivot to another question. We actually asked the great Mike Carver before you came on here before. We talked about the defense. We talked about the aging veterans. Zdeno Chara, Andy Green. Are they coming back next year? And if they do, is that a failure on Islanders management part to get younger and get a stronger defense that obviously struggled, especially in the first half of this season with those guys kind of showing their age out there?
Well, I'm at this point about 98% sure that this is it for Andy Green. So I don't see Andy Green playing next season at this point. And as far as Z, he doesn't really let you into that 6'9" bubble that he has. But my sense about Z is he will play as long as someone offers him a contract. I mean, all you hear about him is his absolute passion and love for playing this sport. And I think if he finds a team that will, and not in a seventh defenseman role. He wasn't interested in that in Boston. He wasn't interested in that in Washington. I don't think he'll be interested in that with the Islanders. I think he wants to be in the top six, and he wants to go to a situation where he's reasonably sure that, he can stay in the top six. I'm not seeing it with the Islanders for next season, and I do agree they do need to get younger. I think if the Islanders would want to bring Z back, it might be in more of that kind of depth role,
right?
And I'm not sure that Z is agreeable to that. I'll give you a different scenario. If Z cannot find a team that's willing to play him in the top six, it would not shock me. And again, this is depending on his, what his wife and children want to do and where they want to settle once his playing career is over. Look, I could see Z adding something to any coaching staff. I would hire that guy in a second to be an assistant coach. I really would. I think, in sort of the same way that Johnny Boychuk was with the Islanders. Those are, and I know, when fans watch the games, all they see is, the on the ice stuff. And sometimes, look, let's face it, Zdeno has been much better, I would say from December on. But the facts are he's still, not the fleetest of skate out on the ice, and sometimes players get around him, even though he's got the widest wingspan in the league. So you tend to focus on the fact that he's 45 and can be kind of stationary at times.
Right.
But if you break down his play, January, February, March into April, he's been much more of a contributor defensively than he was at the start of the year. But off the ice, I can't even begin to describe how much his teammates absolutely revere him. And it's Barry Trotz, too. It seems now like every interview, no matter what question you ask Barry, it winds itself back into a tribute to Zdeno and the character he is and the work ethic and how much his teammates revere and adore this guy. And, it may sound cliched, but there really is something to it. And Johnny Boychuk was exactly the same kind of guy. And either one of them would make fantastic assistant coaches for any NHL team. Again, it's just whether they want to go down that grind. They've certainly made enough money in their career that they don't have to, sort of start at the bottom again. But, if you're telling me Z is back with the Islanders next season, I'm telling you that it's probably more in a coach's role than in a player's role.
Yeah, Andrew, you're really teeing this up for me with all that great analysis there. Because, you look at how Lou Lamoriello and Barry Trotz have valued veteran presence and, locker room guys. You look at Leo Komarov, who some fans might have said overstayed his welcome. You look at bringing guys back like Kyle Clutterbuck and Matt Martin. Would it really surprise you if Zdeno Chara is brought back in some capacity, maybe even if he's willing to accept a seventh defenseman role? Because, you look at all that value that they put on that leadership, and maybe that's a guy they still want to have in the locker room.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. You're right. The Lou and Barry see great value to guys like that because their talent is team construction, right? And it's not always about getting the $7 million, top six forward elite defenseman. You need all sorts of role players, and they see value in those role players. And I know Islander fans are not necessarily wanting to hear that because they're like, "What value is there? The team's missing the playoffs this season." But this season, if you really think about it, this season could have gone off the rails in a way worse way than it actually is. I know the Islanders were never in the middle of a playoff run, but they could have been eliminated way earlier than they were, especially after going 0-8-3. And again, I think it's a little bit cliched, but there is some value in sort of the resiliency that the team shows from time to time. And look, there's some games where they just can't compete because their legs are exhausted because of the schedule or because they're going up against faster teams that move the puck. And this is an Islanders roster that does need improvements to play at that level.
Andrew, we're talking with Andrew Gross, by the way, Newsday's New York Islanders beat writer here on the line, brought to you by our friends over at Tide Technology. Andrew, you're being way too pragmatic, and I just will not stand for it. I want superstars. I want craziness. I will not have any of this pragmatism, or if the word that I just made up, apparently, because I don't think that's how it's said. Probably. So I will not have any of this calm, thought-out thinking here. We need chaos, Andrew. I don't like this at all.
Oh, but chaos, you mean trading for a superstar who never plays?
Yes.
That kind of
Yes, that kind of chaos. That's the chaos I thrive for. Andrew, Andrew, when it comes to the rest of the season, obviously we're, 2 weeks away now from the final game of the year for the Islanders, something like that.
29th is the last game.
Yeah, so, we're a couple weeks out from the final game of the regular season for the Islanders. When you look at the next 2 weeks or so, what are you trying to see from the Islanders as a team, and is there anyone in particular individually that you're really keeping an eye on because this is going to be their moment, or this is going to have a real impact next season when training camp opens and Lou and Barry are trying to make some tough decisions?
Well, one, and I touched upon it today in Newsday after Matt Barzell and Barry Trotz spoke eloquently about it after the game. But look, if Ilya Sorokin starts, I don't know, say another, how many games are left? My math is bad. This is going into game 75, so that's 5-2. Was there 7 games remaining, I think? Say Ilya starts, there are a couple of back-to-back. Say Ilya can get 4 more starts in and throw a couple of more shutouts and really get his numbers pretty gaudy. I'm interested to see if, the campaign for Ilya Sorokin as the Vezina candidate gets any traction, because, look, Matt Barzell was absolutely correct. He's in the top 5 in shutouts, goals against, and save percentage. Now, look, the Islanders aren't going to make the playoffs, and that probably torpedoes, any chance for Sorokin anyway, but he should be in the conversations. I'm curious about that. I'm curious to see how the Islanders deploy Oliver Wahlstrom and Carver Bellows down the stretch, and whether the Islanders can make a determination as to how big a part of the future one or both of them are for next season and beyond. Because I sort of really think it is on the fence at this point. I know Barry Trotz preaches patience with the young players, and there's certainly value to that. But at the same time, are the Islanders, are other teams going to ask for Oliver Wahlstrom or Kiefer Bellows in any potential trades? And are the Islanders going to be willing to include him? And I think those are determinations that need to be made down the stretch. And, beyond that, and I think, just getting back to Zdeno and Andy Green for a second, if these are the last 2 weeks of these guys' careers, both should really be celebrated, these final 2 weeks, rather than, poking holes in the flaws of their game at this stage in their careers. They should really be celebrated for the careers they've had. And I really think that's why Barry Trotz has certainly kept Andy Green in the lineup on a game-by-game basis at this point, because I think everyone understands that Andy's probably going to walk away as a playing member of the Islanders after this season. And at this point in his life, the only 2 teams Andy's going to play for are the Islanders and the Devils, and I don't necessarily see him fitting in for either next season, given where the franchises are. So I just don't think Barry wanted to embarrass Andy at all by making him a healthy scratch. The last couple of weeks of what has been just, it's not going to be a Hall of Fame career, but Andy Green has gone to heights that I don't think anyone expected when he came out of Miami of Ohio in terms of being an undrafted free agent. He was the captain of the Devils. He went to a Stanley Cup final with them. He's played over 1,000 games in this league, and he's played power play, he's played penalty kill, and he was a really, really solid, smart player for many, many seasons. And I just think, let him have these last couple of weeks to enjoy his career here. And yeah.
No, go ahead. I didn't know you weren't finished.
Okay. And if this is the last we see of Zdeno Chara as a player, I think you have to appreciate the fact that this guy has played 1,600 plus games in this league at a physically demanding position and has always been there for his teammates and just, he's not the player he was 10 seasons ago, but, how many of us are, unless you're, 12 and you're looking back at when you were 2, you're always going to be worse 10 years down the road than you were.
What kind of analogy?
Suppose that's true, Andrew. And
yes, I often think back when I was 12 3 days ago. I often think back to when I was 2, and
yeah. But Andrew, you did make a great point about these guys being well-respected veterans, and I think something that fans don't always look at and appreciating these guys and not embarrassing them at the end of a year, where you keep them in the lineup to kind of let them, I suppose, bow out in their careers gracefully. And while that may not be what the fans want to see, they want to see as many young guys in the lineup as possible at this juncture just to see what they got. But is it really such a bad thing to let guys like Andy Green and Zdeno Chara kind of ride out into the sunset, if you will? kind of a showing by the organization that they have that respect for these players and they're doing right by them.
Yeah, no, I don't see anything wrong, especially since Bridgeport. I haven't checked the AHL standings, but they were still playing meaningful games. So if you're going to deploy Robin Salo someplace, probably better to keep him at Bridgeport and try and, because if Bridgeport can get into the AHL playoffs, that's valuable time for those younger players in terms of learning a playoff scenario. I know it's not the NHL, but the AHL is a damn fine league, and playing playoff games in the AHL will benefit those players down the road. So I would rather see Robin Salo in Bridgeport's lineup on a daily basis than getting a cameo here or there with the Islanders in essentially, meaningless games at this point.
For sure, Andrew. And speaking of young players, last week we were talking about the development of guys like Atu Ratu and William Dufour over in the QMJHL. That's a tough one.
Willem Dafoe?
Yes, Willem Dafoe, as Christian affectionately calls him. But have you heard anything on your end about trying to get Ratu over to North America, maybe to squeeze him in somewhere before the AHL and NHL seasons are over? We saw something going out on Twitter a couple of days ago from TLO Mitch from Eyes on Isle saying that they were trying to get him over. They were working on his visa or something like that. Have you heard anything in your camp over at Newsday?
I don't want to BS you. No, I haven't heard anything specific on that, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there would be a benefit to it for sure. Although Barry, I think things change once the Islanders become officially eliminated. And whenever that is, then I would look for something like that.
Talking with Andrew Gross here, the Islanders beat writer for Newsday, here on the line, brought to you by our friends over at Thai Technology. And Andrew, as always, we always appreciate when you come on, and you always give us great insight. But I have to ask you, since we're sitting here at Blue Line Deli right now where we are, and obviously you're going to get the campaign started for Sorokin for Vezina, because you're going to use the power of the press and just write about it every day in Newsday. I can sense it right now that it's coming every day. Sorokin should be a Vezina candidate, and here's why column. You can see it every day in the paper. I'll pick it up and read it. One thing that we campaigned very hard for you, I mean, I campaigned, I want to take all the credit for this, was the fact that we wanted to get you a Blue Line. I wanted to get you a Blue Line Deli sandwich, and I heard that was in the works. And since we're sitting here and I'm still waiting to have the Gross sandwich, what is the latest you can tell us about your sandwich here at Blue Line Deli?
Yeah, well, first of all, is Donnie listening?
He's listening.
Here.
He's standing right over.
Oh, yeah, his ears
shoulder.
are perked up.
Yes.
Hey, Donnie, how are you? No, we're deeply involved in, they're deep into negotiations. I think there are just a few trademark issues to get past. And I'm hoping at some point, maybe this summer we can unveil that. And I'm hoping it's going to be a sloppy Joe where the meat just shoots out and just sprays you as you try and eat it.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. That was something I campaigned for a lot when it came to the Blue Line Deli sandwich here.
One of the times I walked into, I think it was, I was doing something with the New York Riptide. They had a press stop at Blue Line, and I walk in, and Donnie stops me, and he goes, "Boy, you got a real fan in Christian here."
Well, listen, you do have a big fan, and I cannot wait to read all of your columns supporting Ilya Sorokin for Vezina, because he is the greatest goaltender in the world, as someone once told me famously here in Blue Line Deli. Andrew Gross, we really appreciate you coming on. Hopefully you're enjoying your stopover in Montreal, and I'm sure Islander fans would love for me to tell you that you need to pass a personalized hello to John Tavares when you see him tomorrow, or Sunday, I should say.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Andrew Gross from Newsday, because he didn't bite at my joke. I mean, I hope you say hello.
I mean, yeah. You know what? The thing about GT is no matter what you hit him with, he'll have the same response. I mean, he would just be, "Oh, that's nice. Okay, thank you."
Certainly true.
Did you see that viral video? I think the New York Post had it up on its website, of two Maple Leaf fans
Oh, yes. I did see that video.
I mean, Jesus, that guy landed some haymaker on this poor defenseless guy lying backwards in the stands. I was like, stay classy. So.
Yeah, Andrew Gross hitting all the notes that Islander fans want to hear right now. Really just trying to suck up. I get it. I respect it, Andrew. But yes, I did see that video. It was wild. But of course, I think anytime those videos go viral, especially if they're hockey videos, everyone sees them.
Well, here's another note. I'm sure Islander fans are want to hear just regarding the Maple Leafs. They're going to be interesting to watch in the playoffs to see if teams can still win playoff games like 7-5. We've gotten used to, every playoff game seems to be 3-2 or 2-1 into triple overtime, and it's always tight, and the goaltending's always great, right?
Yeah.
The Maple Leafs are going to shake it up this year because they can score a lot, and boy, can they give up goals. So
that's never a great combination. But it sounds like, Andrew, they're your Stanley Cup favorite, which I respect.
Jeez.
No. Although to be fair, I am going with the Canadian team for the first time since I think Christian was 2 years old.
Who do you got, Andrew?
I've been a big fan of what Daryl Sutter and the Calgary Flames have done all season, and I know everyone's going to pick the Colorado Avalanche, but I really, I'm probably putting the malarkey on them, and they're going to get the first round. But I really like the Calgary Flames. I like their balance. I like their scoring. I like their defense, and I think they'll physically beat up teams in the playoffs as well.
Andrew, I like the pick, and as always a great time. Always a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us early here for a morning edition of Hockey Night in New York, Andrew.
Anytime, and enjoy the day. Donnie, all the best to you and the family, and hope to see everyone soon.
And we'll try to work on that gross sandwich for you, all
yes,
right?
we're gonna put on the. By the way, Andrew, before we do let you go, I just want to give you a little heads up. Pass this along to Neil Best. We got the exclusive here on Hockey Night in New York. Butch Goring sounds like he'll be back on the broadcast Tuesday. So when that's in tomorrow's paper, make sure Neil puts Butch Goring told Hockey Night in New York exclusively.
I absolutely will, and you know how it's going to show up in Newsday tomorrow?
How's that?
It'll be exclusive to Newsday.
I don't like that. I don't like that. But Andrew Gross, thank you as always, man. We'll let you get back to work and have a great, enjoy your trip in Canada.
All right, guys. Sean, Christian, take care of yourselves. I'll catch up to you soon.
You too, Andrew. Always a pleasure. That was the great Andrew Gross of Newsday on the line, brought to you by our friends at Tide Technology. Now we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to switch up the order here. We're going to go to the Hero of the Week with a very special guest. We'll be right back.
Customer service is the backbone of any great business, and reliable telecommunication is essential to keeping your client base happy. Introducing Tide Technology, a low-cost, flexible internet phone service founded on the idea that every customer deserves exceptional service while providing simple setup and management and easy integration to clients across the country. Tide Technology will not only create a custom solution tailored to your specific needs, but will partner with you to provide a competitive edge to you and your clients. And if you need support, you won't be routed to an automated call center in another country. You'll get a live representative that had a personal hand in building your account. So Islander fans, if your business is looking for a change from companies like Spectrum, Verizon, or Optimum, Tide Technology is offering 3 free months of service for any of its affordable packages. Just call 516-856-7800. That's 516-856-7800. Or visit them on the web at tidetechnology.com. That's Tide, T-I-E, technology.com. Tide Technology, the right choice for your internet phone service.
Ladies and gentlemen, when you hear this song, that means it's time for the Hero of the Week, brought to you by the Blue Line Deli Half Price Hero. And this week the hero is the Hockey Night in New York, featuring grilled cheese, buffalo sauce, mozzarella cheese, grilled chicken, buffalo sauce, mozzarella cheese, and avocado.
The guy made the sandwich himself. You can't get it right.
Get it half price all week.
What a clown.
Starting tomorrow at the Blue Line Deli and Bagels Huntington location. That is Sunday through next week, where we'll announce a brand new half-off hero. Stop on in, mention Hockey Night New York for half off the Hockey Night in New York. And joining us right now, special guest, owner and proprietor of the Blue Line Deli and Bagels, Mr. Donnie Bagels himself. Donnie, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us. How are you today, sir?
I'm okay.
He's okay, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, it's been real. Thanks for joining us.
Adios. Thank you.
All right, Donnie. So do me a favor. Just scoot to your right a little bit so we can get you in the shot. There we go. Now everybody can see your mediocre face.
Wow.
So let's get going here with the Hero of the Week. A little special edition here. Christian, we're going to start with you as we always do.
Well, so did you, because I told you Hero of the Week, and then you had a default Hero of the Week. Did you change the picture?
I did. You're all set.
I don't believe you.
You just don't remember who it was.
No, I know it was Zach Parisi.
See,
No,
Christian,
my pick was Zach Parisi.
We talked about it earlier. No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
It was not.
Yes, it was.
It was not. See, Christian, once again, we talked about it earlier in the show, does the bare minimum, doesn't show up to set up, doesn't even pick his own hero. I have to pick it for him.
You put a default
Donnie,
one.
I witnessed this.
Yeah, no, Donnie was here. He's my witness. So I mean, just to tell all you guys in the chat there, I mean, this is the kind
all
of
high technology gear again.
This is the kind of effort that Christian Arnold puts into the show on a week-to-week basis. So now you understand what's going on here.
My pick, what? Because I asked you, I
told
walked in,
you.
You told me
All right,
it was,
look,
you told me it
look
was
at the
Sorokin,
screen.
and I
Look at
said
yes.
And I said no. I think I'm going to go with Zach Parisi.
You never said
yes.
that.
I did.
That's a lie.
Yes, I did.
So you're going with Ilya Sorokin?
I'm not. My He's right there. I'm watching on the delay. No, my hero of the week was Zach Parisi because he had a hell of a week, and I literally said that to you when we started discussing this because I said, "Oh, who did you pick?" It was my default, and he said, "Oh, I picked Ilya Sorokin." I said, "All right, but I think I would go with Zach Parisi," and you just completely ignored me. So. Fine, I'll play the game. Ilya Sorokin had a tremendous week. No, my hero of the week is now Ilya Sorokin. I don't know what you're talking about anymore. But yes, both players, if I could pick both, they both had tremendous weeks. Zach Parisi obviously having a number of goals. He's finally producing points at a pace that I think everyone kind of expected him to a bit more. And Ilya Sorokin, I mean, there's not a bad thing you could say about Ilya Sorokin over the last week. Over the basically the entire season. I have to give credit where credit is due. To an extent, to Donnie, who's been pumping the Ilya Sorokin tires from day one. I think he went a little overboard when he said he's the greatest goaltender in the world, which I don't agree with. But certainly, the more you see this guy play, the more you see Ilya Sorokin play, the more confidence you have that he can be one of the best goaltenders in the league. And certainly, I would say in the New York market, he is the best goaltender on the ice at the moment.
I like it, Christian. I like it.
But also, my real hero of the week, Zach Parisi, had a phenomenal week as well.
Well, the only thing Ilya Sorokin is really missing this season is the wins. And if he had the win totals,
scores in front of him,
right? If he had the win totals, and if they were playoff bound, he probably would be in that Vezina conversation, as discussed earlier on the show. So I think it's a good kind of pick, even though you changed it and changed it back. And by the way, I put Sorokin's picture back up there for you. So a very confusing pick for Christian Arnold this week.
Was Zach Parisi, but you picked Ilya Sorokin for me. So
my pick from the start, Christian, was Zach Parisi.
This guy.
4 goals in the 3 games this week. Power play goal.
Now I see why I was ignored.
I
see how this all
Very
happened.
strategic.
Yeah.
First game ever. Power play goal. Shorthanded goal Tuesday night. Like I said, 4 goals in 3 games. The guy has really turned it on. Hopefully this is a sign of things to come for a full 82 games next year. So as I had from the start, Zach Parisi, hero of the week. So now, Donnie, you've been sitting there so gracefully. Let's get you involved. Now, do you enjoy the hero of the week portion of the program?
Very much.
That's good to hear. So do you have a hero that you want to share with us?
I would go with Chara.
Zdeno Chara, please expand on that. A big goal?
He scored a goal.
He did score a goal. I mean, it made it 5-3.
He's a big guy, and he scored a goal. It's a big goal.
Oh, I get it, because he's tall. And
that's
powerful.
why we invited you on the show today, Donnie.
This morning.
You know what's funny about Chara getting that goal, and it's nice that he did. He, instead of having that 0 throughout the season, is he hit a lot of posts this year. He actually had a lot of chances to get a goal throughout the season, and funny enough, this one goes in off the post, went off the bar, and went in.
Tell us what you think of that.
He likes it. He likes it.
Can we get a little more?
Okay. Ilya Sorokin would be my pick, honestly.
Okay.
I do believe that he is going to be one of the best goalies in the league.
We agree with you here. So how's things going here at Blue Line Deli and Bagels?
Going really well.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Business is good.
Business is good.
So, you know, you were busting my chops earlier about the sandwich for the hero of the week, and you were talking about one that you named after Butchie, the toy department.
It would have made sense if you had the toy department today.
Well, it would have made sense if you had provided me some photos for the show and, you know, a description. I don't even know what's in it, but this is your opportunity to make it right. I can't see it. That's far away.
Small font. I can't read.
Donnie, I'm about to turn 40. You gotta give me a break here. So look, I mean, why don't you tell us a little bit about? Why don't you tell us a little bit about the toy department sandwich that you named?
Well, it's a chicken cutlet hero, as you can see right on the board there, and it's got melted cheese on it, lettuce.
I like my cheese
It's a good
melted.
hero, but it should have been the half-price hero of the week since you had the guy who created the toy department here.
Donnie, if I was aware of it, that's where we would have went. But
Wait,
instead,
so what
we
else is on the
decided
toy
to plug
department?
ourselves.
Chicken cutlet.
Yeah.
Lettuce, tomato.
Yep. Ham.
On the chicken cutlet?
And cheese. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's similar to a chicken cordon bleu. You know what that is?
Now, Donnie, I believe the last time we had you on the show, which was about 2 or 3 centuries ago, we asked you what your favorite sandwich was. Has that changed? Do you have a favorite sandwich on the menu?
The white whale is probably got to be it.
I thought, honestly,
the onion rings. It's an amazing sandwich.
The gravy.
Gravy.
It's really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I saw you talking to Mike Carver after he left the show before. Did you guys have a discussion about that? Did he give you the business about not giving him proper credit for essentially indirectly naming that sandwich for you?
I did give him the credit.
You
from
did?
the very beginning.
Oh, you did?
And I happened to make him one
Likely
to
story.
take home with him to try.
That's great. All right, very good. So Mike's going to get
And he was
finally
very
get a-
happy about it.
Okay, that's good to hear. So, all right, Donnie, you're a big fan of this team. We all know that. You literally started a business based on the blue and orange, and it's a fantastic job that you're doing here. Everybody loves Blue Line Deli and Bagels. We're absolutely thrilled to be here today.
Yes.
So, look, disappointing season for the New York Islanders. We've been talking about that, unfortunately, for a couple of months now because that's the way things have been going. But to get your perspective, a fan's perspective of this team, I mean, what do you think? I asked Butch Goring about it before. Do you think they need to do a lot to get back into the playoff mix next year, or maybe just tinker a little bit? What do you want to see Lou Lamoriello do this summer that'll satisfy you as a fan of this team?
A guy who could score.
Yeah.
Maybe shore up the defense a little bit. And other than that, I think we're close. I think that they're very close. I think that if we didn't have a very rocky start and the whole building thing, the COVID stuff, I just think that, I mean, we're seeing now what they could be. And when guys like Parisi and Palmieri, and they start being who we thought they were going to be, we can be in any game. There's not a team that I'm afraid of when they're playing their game.
What about the Lightning? Are you afraid of the Lightning? Those damn Lightning?
Nice.
No, I'm not.
Donnie, yeah, you know
And
what?
I
Now,
get
I'm glad
the
that
reference.
I'm glad that Christian brought that up. So let's talk a little bit about your foray into acting for the Blue Line Deli and Bagels commercial. It's you and Mrs. Bagels did a phenomenal job here at the Blue Line Deli and
My
Bagels.
wife
Tell us
was great.
a little bit about that experience. Did you have a good time, and were you happy with the end product?
I thought that was fantastic. I still keep watching it. I absolutely loved it. I kind of want to do a part 2.
Wow, part 2.
I think we should.
Love it. I love that idea.
That's a great.
Let's do
I'm
another
all
one.
for it. 100%.
That's what summertime's for.
100%. Yeah,
we'll
it'll be
figure it
fun.
out. Christian, do you have a question for Donnie Bagels?
I did, and then I totally lost my train
All
of
right,
thought.
so Donnie, we were talking about the campaign that has been just
I did.
long
I'm sorry.
overdue
Oh,
here.
all right, fine.
Long overdue. Christian has
I was
been
until plane traffic.
really waving the flag for this here.
Oh yeah, the sandwich.
The Andrew Grosswich. Or a gross sandwich, whatever you plan on
A
calling
gross
it.
sandwich.
A gross sandwich, which I believe is a phenomenal name.
It's in the works.
For a sandwich. It's
Mhm.
yeah, we've been
I've
hearing
spoken
that
with
for a
Andrew.
long time. What's holding it up here? I mean, you have customers that are waiting for the Andrew Gross sandwich. What's going on here? Andrew himself. You know how many times after we get off the show with him, he's like, "What's going on with Donnie? I thought you guys had an in with him. What's the story with my sandwich?"
Actually, I got a text from him just now. He just says, "Can you please pass along my serious concerns about the lack
Unbelievable.
of my sandwich?"
Okay. The egg gross sandwich will be done very soon.
And what are the ingredients going to be? Can you give us a preview, or is that a surprise?
It's a sloppy Joe.
Sloppy Joe.
It's going to
How
be a sloppy
appropriate.
Joe. But done Blue Line style.
A little twist. A little
With
blue
a
line
twist.
twist.
That's right.
You're going to save that until the announcement in 2026?
Yes.
All right. Very good. I mean,
That's hilarious.
Listen, Donnie, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I kind of do. But, I mean, look, it's been a long time
Wow.
coming here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, we've been waiting for this for a very long time.
It's on the way.
Okay, it's on the way.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. You think about who got sandwiches right out of the gate. Looking back,
That's right.
Yeah.
A couple of ungrateful guys sitting here.
Hockey night in New York was the first.
A beautifully made sandwich for
No,
them.
I was going to compliment him. I mean, he got the best sandwiches out of the way.
Now, Donnie, that's obviously the best seller here at the Deli, right?
It is actually.
Butchie has a sandwich.
seller.
Brendan has a sandwich. Compton has a sandwich.
People love that there's avocado on it.
They do.
Well, that was your little blue line twist to the sandwich.
It was. I take full credit.
Well done, sir. Well, you know what you're doing here. You know, believe it or not, to the disbelief of many.
Thank you.
You know what you're doing here at Blue Line Deli and Bagels. We're having fun here for the hero of the week. Brought to you by Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Got Donnie Rosner, owner and proprietor of Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Now, buddy, you've expanded recently.
Yes.
East Islip, UBS Arena. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah.
With the microphone up to your mouth.
The UBS Arena thing was amazing. It's still surreal walking in there, going up the escalator, and the logo I created is right there on the wall. And I owe it to everybody that supported us, really, because they're the ones that made us what we are. And it still amazes me and confuses me how we got here. It's just it all happened so fast with COVID and everything. It was very scary for a long time. And Isles Nation kind of did it for us. So.
Yeah, and folks, a great location out there in East Islip. That's what, 217?
Carlton Avenue.
Carlton Avenue.
Yep.
Look at me remembering stuff. How about that?
Weird.
40-year-old brain. It's happening.
Weird.
It's all happening.
But which islip is it in?
The East one.
Yes, don't go to the wrong islip.
Yes, as we did upon our first visit.
But it'll also be a deli. So
it was so strange. Yeah, we ended up in Central Islip, and it was also a deli, but it was not Blue Line Deli and Bagel. So obviously their food was
You were
terrible.
in the wrong place.
Yes. Well, we didn't get any food.
No, we saw it, and we just kept moving.
Yeah.
But so you get into UBS Arena. I mean, dream come true. You literally have your place of business, your branding, your logo, as you discussed. Not only in the building, prime placement. Folks, if you haven't been to UBS already, or if you have, you walk into that main entrance, you go up that escalator, and front and center, right in the front, you go into that little alcove there, and there's Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Pretty surreal, huh?
Yeah. So we were actually one of the first places to hook up with the Islanders when they were building the arena. So I jokingly said when they asked me, do you have do you know where you want to be? I was like, yeah, I want to be the first thing you see when we walk in. And it was a joke, but, they kind of gave me that, which was
that's awesome.
Not really a joke
well,
anymore.
who's not going to bend to the will of Donnie Bagels?
It does have a lot
Donnie
of
Bagels gets what he wants. I mean, you got Butch Goring down here for crying out loud, which we very much appreciate,
cool.
Donnie.
And
well done.
I can't even thank Butch enough. He's been a friend to us for quite a while now, and pretty cool that he came down for us.
And what a phenomenal spot that he gave us. Yeah. I mean, great interview there. Christian, do you have any questions for Donnie? I'm giving you another opportunity.
No, I think you've asked a lot of great questions, Sean, and
appreciate that.
The one thing I did notice when Donnie was talking about the team, though, he kept saying we and us. As I must have missed this when they put Blue Line Deli in the arena. Did they also offer you a contract on the team? Or?
I mean, if they won the cup, I would hope for a ring.
Wow, that is bold.
Might not happen this year, but hope for next year.
Wow, Donnie wants a ring.
I do want a ring.
Okay.
Not saying I deserve one. I
okay,
want
at
one.
least you're grounded.
I want one.
There.
A little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you want one?
Sure. I just don't think I'm on the list.
Probably not.
I'm
think, probably not either.
I think some of the when it comes to who gets rings, it goes the players, management, ownership.
Right. Donnie. Hockey Night New York.
Well, I was going to say Donnie, and then it's a mix of all the people who have MSG commercials, and I'm not sure where we stand on that list. Are we high enough on the list to get a ring or to demand a ring? So I don't know.
I'm not sure. I mean, I starred in one of them, so I'd like to think that I'd be at least considered.
We both were in one.
I caught a flying sandwich in my mouth. I did that for you.
No, I meant the
that was a lot of fun.
I meant the commercials on the broadcast.
Oh, no, I was talking about us.
I know, no. I mean, because we're actually on television.
About that whole catching the sandwich thing,
yeah.
We did 100 takes on purpose. Like, we were throwing sandwiches at you on purpose.
My jaw was
100%.
tired by the end of the day.
Yeah,
there was a lot of takes, folks. Believe it or not, it didn't go perfectly on the first one. We're not going to tell you the trade secrets and how we made it happen, but it was a lot of fun to shoot. That was a good day.
It was a good day.
Christian, you okay, bud? What's the matter? You going to have a laugh here? What's the problem? Oh, look at him.
I caught the joke. You
at
missed it. It's a good one.
Oh yeah,
boy.
That's okay. Well, I'll let that go. You know what? When I run the broadcast back later, I'll check it out. I'll laugh at it then.
You might figure it out.
I have a feeling I know what's going on here. Yeah, I think I do. So Donnie, always a pleasure to be hanging with you here at Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Thank you so much. You're doing a great job here. Customers coming in all day.
Yes, and just remember who really represents the show. Who represents Blue Line on the show? I just want you to remember that, Donnie.
That is you.
Christian Arnold, ever the brown noser here.
I have to give him
Hockey
extra
Night New
money
York.
to wear the bagel shirt and stuff.
Yeah,
I pay him for that.
I figured as much.
Yeah,
Whoa.
Christian does not do that out of the
No.
goodness of his heart. Yeah, that's...
No, he's talking about you.
Yeah, that was you, buddy.
You
Oh.
get paid.
Oh,
he has
I-
to grease your
no.
wheels to
I
be a
got-
good
yeah.
person.
Well, I mean, you're also wearing the Blue Line shirt.
yeah,
because
because I
a great
love
job.
my
For
Blue Line
free.
shirt.
Right.
For free.
Yeah,
Because
well,
out of the goodness
look,
of my
man,
heart.
dude, I'm a commercial star.
Which I gave the shirt for free, too.
Yeah.
Buddy,
I'll bill you.
you're the best. You're the best in the world. Donnie, I know you're busy here. We know you got to get back to what you're doing, but thank you for joining us for the Hero of the Week, brought to you by your Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Remember, folks, stop on in here to the Huntington Blue Line Deli location starting tomorrow. Mention Hockey Night in New York and get half off the Hockey Night in New York wrap. It's wonderful.
Or don't mention it and pay full price.
Wow. I mean, yes,
I
you
gotta
can do
throw
that
it out
too.
there.
He does have a family to feed, so I get that. I get that mentality as well.
Well, you know, you signed up for the promotion, buddy, so now you got to follow through.
All right, we'll do it.
All right, Donnie Rosner, owner and proprietor of Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Thank you so much. Great time here.
Thank you.
On Hero of the Week.
You know what I'm curious about?
Oh, please.
Are we letting Donnie go? I didn't know what was going on. I didn't want to say this to his face.
Should I be leaving?
No, I don't know. But I was just going to say, since he keeps saying us and we, when he, I assume Donnie has a contract with the team, does that mean he gets a couple players to come down and make sandwiches in the back as well? Since
I don't know if he has that kind of pull.
I don't think Blue would allow that.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably. He wouldn't let any of them within a 100-mile radius.
Undersley out with an upper
100-foot
body
radius.
injury.
Yeah.
Cut a little bit of his finger trying to chop some.
You saying he's uncoordinated?
Don't need that.
Just saying.
Oh, all right.
Just saying.
All right, well, Donnie, we're going to let you get back
Thank
to
you.
business here. Dude,
Thank you.
Love you guys. Thanks
always
a
a
lot.
pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us. Mr. Donald Rosner of Blue Line Deli and Bagels. And yes, folks, the train rolls on here at Hockey Night New York, coming from Blue Line Deli and Bagels in Huntington. Christian, what do you say we go to your special segment? Questions? No.
What are you doing?
What's on the taps?
And then we'll get to questions.
What's on the
going.
taps? Here we go.
And now, it's time for What's on Tap, brought to you by RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill.
That's right, folks. It's time for What's on Tap, brought to you by RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill. Christian, it's your time to shine. What do the Islanders have coming up starting tomorrow on Easter Sunday? All right, I'll let you guys know because Christian's laptop. Oh, there you go.
There. It decided to start opening Zoom for some reason. No, so Sunday, the Islanders. Wow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Tomorrow, the Islanders face the Toronto Maple Leafs for their final meeting of the year up in Toronto. And I think as Shawnee and I figured out last week, that was the game that was originally supposed to be played in February, or they swapped it with the home game.
Yeah,
this was supposed to originally
supposed to be
a home game.
Correct.
And then they swapped it with all the issues going on and the restrictions in Canada. So the Islanders will see the Maple Leafs one final time on Sunday, the 17th, Easter Sunday, a 7:30 matchup when John Tavares and the Leafs battle Undersley and the Islanders.
That's right. What else is on tap?
A battle of one captain and one former captain.
Yeah, this is true. And as said earlier in the show, maybe the Isles get up for this one because it's the Leafs.
I think
because
they
it's
always
J2,
do.
And just
J2?
playing in the city. What?
J2.
Did I say J2?
Yeah.
It's the morning.
J2.
I said I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. JT.
Rest of the week.
Former number 91. Yeah, go on.
Rest of the week, Islanders face the Florida Panthers. Shawnee, was that your pick to win the Cup this year? Florida Panthers. So that'll be a very fun game.
Yes.
Florida, a very talented team, and 7:30 start at UBS Arena. And then, of course, a showdown with the New York Rangers on Thursday as they also make their push towards the postseason. The Rangers have already locked up their spot in the playoffs.
boo-boo.
And I think they're going now for a top spot in the Metro. So there's still a bit on the
battling.
line. Still a bit on the line for the Rangers. The Islanders can play a bit of spoiler again, if that's your thing, if that's your cup of tea. Islanders will also play the Buffalo Sabres on Saturday at 12:30 up at the arena in Buffalo called KeyBank Arena.
Well,
I was going to call
way to string that one together.
I was going to say I was going to call it HSBC B Center or whatever, but it hasn't been called that in forever.
Are you old enough to remember when it was called the Old Arena?
No. Oh, before it closed.
Yeah, the old
Yeah.
Odd. Yeah.
I remember it.
Yeah, well revered arena. I was never there, but I heard it was a very popular place.
And then the Islanders close out a very busy week.
It's been a busy week for a long time.
Yeah, but this is
Every
a very,
week.
very busy week, it seems like, because they close out that Sunday with a 1 p.m. Matchup with the Carolina Hurricanes, also playoff bound.
Yes, they are. So
I should mention all these teams are playoff bound.
Buffalo Sabres aren't playoff bound.
All these teams except the Buffalo Sabres are playoff bound.
Nicely
I forgot.
done.
I forgot. I looked at all these teams on the calendar. I went, oh
Right.
yeah, I just forgot.
Yeah, one
Much
job.
like everything else that revolves around Buffalo, you kind of forget it exists.
Damn. Good thing
Shots
Carver left because he's a big Bills guy.
Yeah, I hate that team so much.
Really?
I hate
Why
the Buffalo
such
Bills.
hate for a team? What did they do to you?
They're the worst.
Okay. So you hate them because they're bad.
No, they're a tremendous football team. There's a reason
Oh.
why they've gone to like the AFC title game a couple times. I mean, never going to win a Super Bowl. It's fine, but you know, and I wish Carver was here for that. That's just not. It's not as fun when I say that.
It's a shame he wasn't here to witness you putting down his favorite football franchise in the Buffalo Bills.
They should just move to a real city.
Next time. All right, folks. Well,
That was What's on Tap, brought to you by RJ Daniels, American Bar and Grill.
that's right, folks. Once again, big thanks to RJ Daniels for sponsoring that segment of the show. What's on Tap? The game's coming up for the New York Islanders. So, Christian, why don't we move right into the next one? This time for real.
Questions brewing.
Questions brewing.
All right, do it.
It's time for Questions Brewing, brought to you by Oyster Bay Brewing Company, Long Island's Gold Coast Brewery.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for Questions Brewing, where our wonderful people here watching live in the chat pitch us some questions to ask you. Brought to you by the great Oyster Bay Brewing Company and their delicious Barn Rocker Session Ale, made in tribute to the old barn, the Nassau Coliseum. Christian, let's hear some questions.
All right, Mike 4652 starting off here. Question brewing: how can we not say that Barry Trotz must not like Oliver Wahlstrom on some level? He seems to be Barry's whipping boy, and Trotz is so selective as to who he quote unquote disciplines and who he doesn't.
I think it's a little much to flat out say he doesn't like him. Maybe there's some things he's doing that he doesn't like, but I don't think he has a personal vendetta against Oliver Wahlstrom. And to Barry's credit, I mean, he's addressed this in his press conferences, saying that there's things that he needs to work on. And look, I mean, it's going to be different for every player.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, he doesn't feel that Oliver Wahlstrom is coming along as well as maybe he should or could. And Barry, look, he's trying to nurture these young guys. He's trying to make sure that they're coming up and they're becoming the best player that they can be. And I've said this, multiple times in the show, where it's different for every player, where he can throw a guy out there and, there's a little more success in the early going. But, with a guy like him, it seems like he needs a little more tough love. He needs to see the ice from the press box, or limited minutes and whatnot. Maybe there's still, he still needs to earn a little trust there from Barry Trotz. I don't think he personally doesn't like the guy. I think there's just something he's seeing, and it might be in practice too. Maybe he's dialed out in practice. Maybe he's a guy who's not focusing as much as he should be. We don't know that because we're not there, and that's why we can only speculate. But I'm sure, at least for me, I put enough trust in Barry Trotz to say that there's probably something he's seeing, whether it's on the ice in games or behind the scenes, that just isn't enough for him to trust him out there on the ice.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you, Sean. And you look at kind of how the season has progressed for Wahlstrom, and you see these moments where flashes of brilliance, and there's things he does really well. Obviously, everyone knows his scoring ability and his ability to shoot the puck. But, yeah, I think Barry Trotz's bigger concern is his overall game. And that's the same thing. It's the same expectation he's put on Matthew Barzal and on other players as well, is to get that complete game experience or have that his game be as impactful when he has the puck as much as when he doesn't have the puck. That's been the biggest thing, and I think that's always Barry Trotz's sort of issue when it comes to Oliver Wahlstrom, is that he's just not seeing that aspect, his aspect of how he handles himself on the ice when he doesn't have the puck. How is he getting back in the D zone? How is he making the right reads? What these little things that are very important to being a complete player, especially when it comes to the Islanders and the Barry Trotz system.
And look at it this way, Christian. If Oliver Wahlstrom succeeds, that means Barry Trotz is succeeding.
Right.
So he wants him to do well as much as everybody else does. I mean, there's no reason for him to put the guy down to like Barry Trotz isn't saying to himself, well, screw this guy. I don't want him scoring goals.
Hate him.
Right, because if he's scoring goals, they're winning more games, and he's looking better as the head coach. So I gotta say, Mike, I don't think there's any sort of personal thing here. He's just bringing him along the best way he thinks he has to in order to become the player that we all hope will be, and tap that potential.
100% agree. Question brewing, CGS 878. Who do you think will have his jersey number retired next, and when?
I think we might have been fielded this question over the course of the season earlier, and I think it's a tough one to answer. And we talked about the bar that's been set by the guys that are already up there, right? Guys that, were part of the dynasty. You have, all guys that deserve to be up there. Maybe some a little later than they should have gotten up there, but you got Tonelli up there now. You got Goring up there now. And while maybe you don't have to match that level because, let's face it, it's never going to happen again, but there's got to be some sort of criteria where, somebody has to achieve certain things or earn a certain level. I know Josh Bailey's name has come up because – he's gonna be up there in some of the most games played for this team, and just by playing all those games, he's gonna have a lot of points. He's gonna be probably, top 5-10 in points by the time his Islander career is over. Does he get a banner just because he played for the team for a long time? And again, that's not to say that he hasn't achieved anything with this team, but he has no cups. There's really not a lot to write home about as far as that stuff goes. So I don't know. Is Pat LaFontaine in the conversation? Maybe.
He would be more in the conversation.
I think
for me than
right. But again, he didn't do anything of note as far as Stanley Cups go.
Right.
Nobody else has won a Stanley. I don't think anybody else from the dynasty needs to be honored in that way. And then has anybody since then been deserving? I think that's tough to say. Because you don't want to water down that achievement. There's a reason why Butch Goring and Brian Trottier and Mike Bossy are up there. And, you don't want to take anything away from those guys, too. Again, you don't have to win 4 cups, but I think, there has to be a bar, and I'm not sure that anybody's crossed that bar for this team. So I think that's a TBD.
Interesting. Very interesting. So Sean hates every other Islander that has put on the jersey.
Okay.
Question brewing here from, let's see, T-Boyle 13. Who has the best chance to make the team out of Bridgeport this fall? I think we kind of addressed this last week as well.
We did.
So Sean, I'll just give you a chance to speak for the two of us and just reiterate what we said last week.
Yeah, well, in fairness, somebody helped us out and mentioned Balduke because we kind of neglected to mention him last time. I think he's got a shot, but I think, we mentioned Holmstrom. We talked about Salo. And, I think that's kind of what you're looking at here. And again, there's not a lot to choose from. And not for nothing, Hutton's made a little case to maybe be that 7th defenseman. Maybe he takes over for Sebastian Aho. They let him go this summer, and maybe Hutton ends up being that extra D.
Wow.
He's been pretty decent. Look, not flashy, not going to do, not going to wow you every game, but I don't think he's been that bad. So, maybe he's a guy who gets a look as a 7th D. If Salo's coming along well, maybe he has a chance to sneak into the lineup too. But, again, slim pickings. But, I think that's pretty much the realm we're looking at there.
Interesting. I agree. By the way, CGS throwing out the name Chico Resch is maybe a possibility for a number of retirement. Also, I'm assuming this is a much more joking manner, but Rick DiPietro.
Stop it. Yeah, that's obviously a joke.
I don't know. You can look.
No,
back.
he used the crying laughing emoji in the chat. So that
I
means
think
it's a joke.
That's my next campaign. Rick DiPietro have his number retired.
Well, then you can throw that bar I was talking about completely out the window. No disrespect to Mr. DiPietro, but obviously his career didn't go the way he wanted, the way that the fans wanted because of all those injuries and whatnot. But look, I don't think that guy has played for this team yet. And I think it's going to be a little while until we see another number up in the rafters.
Question Bruin tried 819 asking, can they trade Beauvillier and someone else for the elusive sniper they need, or to dump salary to get a free agent like Forsberg or Goudreau? Bo has basically taken this season off.
You want to take that one, or you want me to go?
I want you to go.
Oh, you want me to go? Yeah. Okay, I think it's on the table. I think we also mentioned in previous shows, too, that maybe Bo and Bailey are maybe the most eligible forwards to be traded to either be packaged for an upgrade or to shed salary. That more in the case of Josh Bailey. Look, it's possible. That's the thing. somebody's going to have to go. They're going to have to make room somewhere. Excuse me, if they are going to bring in an additional forward, which obviously we're all hoping happens.
Right.
So, you know, you have Kiefer Bellows. Does he have a spot if they bring in somebody else? Because he's already struggling to crack the team, you know, long term as it is. I think Oliver Wahlstrom is definitely ahead of him on the depth chart. So I think he has a better chance to still crack a spot, even if they do bring somebody in. But, yeah, there's going to have to be an odd man or two out. And I think, you know, names like Bo, names like Bailey and Bellows are kind of involved in that conversation. It's going to be extremely interesting because, you know, Bo's been with the team for a while. He's a little inconsistent. He's proven to be a playoff performer, and obviously that's the most important thing. But, you know, is he a guy who still has a little upside, who still has a little youth? Maybe he's a guy who gets packaged and, you know, maybe you don't miss him as much because either you shed your salary to bring in a guy like Forsberg or you're trading for a guy on another team who can maybe flank Barzal and help improve this team next season.
Yeah, and listen, I think when you look at those two players in particular, or at least when it comes to Beauvillier, I think from the last time we answered this question around what I would say the trade deadline, when we were really kind of having this conversation a bit more, to now, I would agree more with Trade in the sense of Bo has kind of his importance, while he's still an invaluable piece to this team. But I think I'm more open to the idea now of saying, all right, if you can dump salary, if you can make a trade that's going to impact the team, Bo has to be on the table anymore. You know, he's not his role and his position on the team isn't as secure as I would say it was maybe a year or two ago when you looked at Beauvillier's play and you went, yeah, he goes through stretches and streaks, but when you look at when he plays in the playoffs, he's a dynamite player. All of that being said, you just I think as we're learning this year. And as a team that's built for the playoffs, they have to be a team that can win games and just get there in the first place. And that's the biggest thing right now. You need to bring in guys that can get you just to the playoffs. And then that sort of system that Barry Trotz plays and the team that Lou Lamoriello is comprised of, has a better fighting chance of just once they're in there, then they can really make noise and do what they do best.
Yeah, and if they bring in a top six guy like a Forsberg or whomever it may be, I mean, that's going to help you forget about Beauvillier anyway, where you don't really need his services as much. I mean, he's an important piece on the team now as constructed, but if you bring in a better guy, you know, you can kind of get over losing him. And that's no knock against Anthony Beauvillier, but, I mean, he's just a guy that you feel more comfortable moving out if you do bring somebody better in.
Absolutely. Shawnee, we're running on almost 2 hours here, so I think the rest of the questions that I saw were kind of stuff that we've talked about. So I think the questions that we tried to pick today were a little more strategic in that they haven't been talked about as much on the show.
Christian, I'm with you, buddy. Leading the way here on Questions Brewing. So
that was Questions Brewing, brought to you by Oyster Bay Brewing Company, Long Island's Gold Coast Brewery.
Thank you to everyone that did submit questions. It wasn't that we're ignoring them or that we didn't want to answer them, but we're trying to be as strategic as possible here, especially when we're about to cross the two-hour mark. And but thank you, everyone, as always.
Absolutely. Well, I think with that, Christian, I mean, look, what a show, huh? Butch Goring, Mikey Carver, Andrew Gross.
Yeah.
All-star cast. Fantastic stuff. Blue Line Deli and Bagels.
Donnie Rosner.
Yep. I mean, what better way to start your morning than at Blue Line Deli and Bagels with such an all-star cast. So I think with that being said, pal, we can wrap this thing up. So want to send a huge, huge thanks out to Butch Goring, the legend, for joining us here in-house at Blue Line Deli and Bagels. Want to thank Mikey Carver from I'll See Podcast, the Sports Grid for joining us, and, of course, the great Andrew Gross from Newsday, and the fantastic Donald Rosner, owner and proprietor of Blue Line Deli and Bagels, all for joining us tonight. And of course, a huge thanks to our sponsors, RJ Daniels American Bar and Grill, located at 279A Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center, the best place to catch the Isles when you can't make it to the game. Don't just go for the Isles, they have live music, comedy nights, trivia, a late night bar scene, they have it all. Once again, a huge thanks to Blue Line Deli and Bagels, located here at 719 West Jericho Turnpike in Huntington. They're an official partner of the New York Islanders and the greatest deli around. Check out the menu at BlueLineDeli.com for the great selections and hockey-themed heroes. And a huge thanks to Ty Technology, a voice-over IP company providing phone services for businesses across the country. Check them out at TyTechnology.com for all your telecom needs, or give them a call at 516-856-7800 and get 3 free months of service. And last but not least, a big thanks to Oyster Bay Brewing Company, located at 36 Audrey Avenue in Oyster Bay. You can order their great beers and merchandise at oysterbaybrewing.com for curbside pickup, local delivery, and now shipping to 36 states. across the country. Get 15% off with coupon code HNINY. And of course, a huge thanks to all of you for tuning in live at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY and your favorite podcast providers later on. If you enjoy the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast provider. Tell your friends, spread the word. Follow Christian Arnold here at C_Arnold01. Follow myself at Shawnee Hockey. Follow the show at Hockey Night NY on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for Christian Arnold. My name is Sean Cuthbert. We've been Hockey Night in New York live from Blue Line Deli and Bagels in Huntington. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you next week.